Number 10. Swallowed by a python. Once again, a woman was recently eaten by a python in Indonesia. This happened in the fall of 2022. This unfortunate victim was identified only as Zara, 54 years old. When she didn't return home from her job at a rubber plantation on Sunday evening, her husband began to worry. He went out looking for her in their small village of Elephant Falls, located in Jambi province on the island of Sumatra. The husband could not find Jara's body, but he did discover her sandals, jacket, and headscarf. He also found some tools that she had likely been bringing home from the rubber plantation. But his wife was nowhere to be seen. He reported her missing, and that was when a search party found the serpent. The team came across a gigantic python about 21 feet, 6.4 meters long. It had a bulge in its stomach that was about the size of a human. The implication of what happened was utterly devastating for the woman's husband. Nobody really wanted to cut the snake open to see what was inside, but they didn't have much of a choice. Jara was indeed discovered inside the belly of the snake. She wasn't completely destroyed because the snake had yet to digest her properly. She had likely been captured by the snake, constricted, and swallowed just hours before the snake was found. It would have been a grueling experience for her. Because pythons are constrictors, she would have been squeezed hard enough by the snake's muscled body that her bones would have been pulverized. If she wasn't dead by the end of that, she would have been swallowed whole only to suffocate inside the bowels of the snake. Number 8. Biting back. In November of 2022, an 8-year-old boy in India gave a snake a shocking taste of its own medicine. The youngster, known only as Deepak, was attacked by a serpent in the remote village of Pandarpad, about 215 miles, 346 kilometers from the biggest nearby city. He was playing in the backyard of his house when a venomous cobra sprang at him without warning. It was a tense and terrifying moment. The cobra wrapped itself around the child's hand and sunk its fangs into him. According to what Deepak told reports, he was in great pain. But when the boy tried to shake the snake off, it wouldn't budge, so Deepak let his instincts take over. He seized the snake and bit it twice as hard as he could. This was enough to freak the snake out and make it slither away. Being bitten by a venomous cobra is one of the most painful experiences a person can go through. The venom essentially eats at your body from the inside out. Luckily for Deepak, the snake never released any poison. He was rushed to a health center and given a shot of anti-venom, but it turned out he didn't need it. By some crazy miracle, the snake just didn't release its venom. It's a phenomenon known as a dry bite, in which the venom fails to be injected through the snake's fangs. In this case, the boy was extremely lucky. Dying from a snake bite is incredibly common in India. According to the Indian Council of Medical Research, at least 100,000 people die per year in India from snake attacks. That's about half the total snakebite fatalities for the entire globe. Number 8. Charged with manslaughter. Karad Fram is facing a manslaughter charge over the untimely death of his 11-year-old son. The charge stems from the fact that Karad let his son go to sleep despite being fully aware of a deadly snakebite. It all started on November 20th, 2021. Christian Fram was playing with his brother at a spot near their house in Queensland, Australia. While the boys were messing around outside, they were attacked by a vicious snake. Christian was bitten by the snake, and the boys ran back to their house, desperate to get help from their father. Instead of taking Christian to the hospital, the 31-year-old dad ignored his son's tragic pleas for help. He forced Christian to go to sleep as normal, telling him not to be a crybaby and to deal with the snakebite himself. The boy was so scared and alone that when he woke up hours later and vomited all over himself, he climbed into a shed and died alone, too afraid to ask his father for help. After a long investigation that went on for nearly a year, police finally arrested Karad Fram in early November of 2022. He's being charged with manslaughter and is currently one of the most hated people in Australia. At the time of his arrest, Kerrod had a new girlfriend, pregnant with the child due in about 6 weeks. As for Tristian's mother, she also recently had a new baby with her new husband. Sources close to the family say almost no discussion was ever had following Tristian's death. Number 7. Strangled in Pennsylvania. A Pennsylvania man perished in July of 2022 when he was killed by his own pet snake. The 18-foot, 5.4-meter monster serpent wrapped itself around the victim's neck so tightly that the man couldn't breathe, and sadly he died being bear-hugged by his own snake. His name was Elliot Sensman, only 27 years old. He was pronounced dead at the Lehigh Valley Hospital 4 days after the attack. His pet was a boa constrictor, and it wrapped around his throat, causing anoxic brain injury. In other words, the complete lack of oxygen to the brain. This is according to the official statement from the Lehigh County Coroner's Office. The police were dispatched to Elliot's house at around 2:12 p.m. They discovered Elliot unresponsive, lying on the floor, still being strangled by the snake. Instead of calling in an animal expert or doing any kind of investigation, the officers shot the reptile in the head. They blew the unsuspecting snake's brains right out of its skull. Only then did they try to perform emergency medical care on the victim. But for Elliot, there was just nothing that could be done. Number 6. A near miss. In November of 2022, a toddler in Melbourne, Australia, almost got in some serious trouble with a brown snake, one of the most venomous serpents in the land down under. A home security system captured the frightening moment the toddler was just about ambushed by the brown snake as it slithered through the backyard. The sneaky reptile was just feet away from Eva, 2 years old, who was splashing around in the kiddie pool and totally oblivious to the potential danger. The mother, Danielle Vizzini, was on the phone with a friend when she saw something unusual from the corner of her eye. It clicked instantaneously that a snake was about to bite her daughter, and she reacted like lightning. Danielle snatched Eva by the arm, yanked her out of the pool, and the toddler narrowly escaped the fangs of the brown snake. The truly remarkable part is just how quickly Danielle reacted. She pulled the child out of the water with the uncanny speed of a kung fu master. If a child were to be bitten by one of these snakes, they would likely not survive more than 30 minutes. Number 5. The deadly black mamba. The black mamba is without a doubt the deadliest snake in Africa, a beast of a serpent that can grow 14 feet, 4.2 meters long. In 2022, one of them went on a murder spree in Zimbabwe. A single black mamba attacked a man's family, killing his wife, his daughter, and his nephew in one brutal attack. According to what the survivor, a man named Tapiwa Masiwa, told local news, the attack happened while his family was collecting firewood in their village. His daughter, 21-year-old Nyarai, was the first to be bitten. As her mother tried to help, she was bitten as well. And when his 15-year-old nephew tried to escape, the black mamba went after him and bit him on the ankle. Its venom results in almost certain death within 3 to 16 hours. Because the black mamba is so deadly, all 3 people who were bit died before the day was done. Tapiwa lost almost his entire family because of one disgruntled snake's bloodthirsty rampage. Number 4. Saved by a chihuahua. Booker West was just 1 year old in 2007 when he was splashing his hands in a bird bath at his grandparents' property in Colorado. The toddler had no idea there was a rattlesnake slithering up behind him, ready to strike. Luckily for Booker, Zoe the Chihuahua was not about to let the young boy get bitten. The tiny 5-pound, 2.2-kilogram dog jumped between the rattlesnake and the kid, taking the bites instead of Booker. The brave Chihuahua basically took a bullet for the child, saving him at the last possible second and getting a flank full of fangs. Monty Long, the boy's grandfather and the owner of the dog, heard Zoe yip after she took 2 fangs to her side. Luckily, he was able to see what was happening and grab Booker to get him away from the snake. The next thing he had to do was get Zoe to the veterinarian. And although it looked like she might not survive the ordeal, she did make a full recovery. Zoe is now a hero dog, one of the very few Chihuahuas that legitimately saved someone's life with their bravery. Number 3. The adder strikes. In early 2022, Jake Clozier was playing in some sand dunes in Norfolk, the UK, when he was attacked by a snake. At first, Jake, who was only 8 years old at the time, thought he had been bitten by a harmless grass snake. So too did his mother, Sophie, who dismissed the snake bite as nothing to worry about. However, the family soon learned it was definitely something to worry about when Jake's hand swelled up to 5 times its normal size. They realized he had been bitten by an adder, the only true venomous snake in England. The venom from the adder shrunk Jake's veins, causing his hand to swell and turn black as if it might rot off. The family immediately rushed to the closest hospital in Great Yarmouth, taken there by a helpful local at the village. The family had no immediate means of transportation and ran around banging on doors until someone agreed to help them reach the hospital quickly. They would have waited for an ambulance, only it would have taken 8 hours to get there. Thankfully, Jake's hand was saved by an anti-venom drip. But it was a really close call. By the time they reached the hospital, Jake's hand had turned hard like someone injected it with concrete. It was a rough night worrying about Jake. Because the venom had shrunk his veins so much, it was difficult to get the anti-venom circulating through Jake's system. But by the next day, the venom had passed through his body, and there was no more risk of him dying. He went on to make a full recovery, and his hand deflated back to its normal size. The only thing is that Jake is now terrified of walking on grass. He also has constant nightmares about being attacked by a snake. Number 2. The Everglades cottonmouth. Part of living in South Florida means you're going to have at least one encounter with a snake in your life. You just have to hope it isn't a deadly encounter. In June of 2022, Javier Ortiz almost found himself on the losing end of a fight with a cottonmouth while working in his garden in Miramar. As he was gardening, he came across a dead palm tree branch and moved it aside to reach the weeds underneath. According to him, that was when he felt a pinch on his right hand. That pinch was a pair of fangs breaking through his skin. At first, he didn't think it was a big deal. Javier built his house 21 years ago and had never seen a snake on his property. He just assumed it was a non-venomous snake and he would be fine. But as it turned out, Javier was not fine at all. It was his wife who insisted they go straight to the emergency room, even though Javier didn't feel like he was in any danger. It was a good thing they did, though, because by the time they got there, his hand was swollen and he was in significant pain. The snake venom was already spreading through his bloodstream. Javier had to start on an anti-venom treatment immediately, and it took 8 hours for his hand to stop swelling. If he hadn't gone to the hospital when he did, he may have even lost his hand entirely. Number 1. Snakes bite in Israel. Israel is not only home to some of the most important religious sites in the world, it's also notorious for its deadly vipers. A 13-year-old boy was hospitalized in September of 2022 after he was bitten by a snake in northern Israel. The youth was attacked at around 6 in the morning and transported to the Ziv Medical Center in serious condition, but the bite didn't prove fatal. He wasn't the only one who fell victim to a snake attack this summer in Israel. At the end of June, 2 people were attacked in separate incidents within an hour of each other in totally different parts of the country. And earlier that same month, an Israeli soldier almost died after he was bitten by a snake at a military base. Another soldier got bitten a month prior in May and fell seriously ill as well. The snake responsible for most of these attacks is the viper, the most common venomous snake found in Israel. They grow to about 3 feet, 1 meter long, and have specialized venom for damaging blood circulation. Although they generally feed on rodents and toads, they sometimes attack unsuspecting soldiers and kids. Thanks for watching. Would you rather encounter a small venomous snake or a massive non-venomous serpent? Let us know what's more terrifying and be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. See you soon. Bye.